I've wanted to see for a long time. And I think, Dr. Saunders has talked about like the value or the importance of reducing stress and like community is a big part of that. Like if you look at, I think they're called the blue zones in, all over the world, people that live the longest have the most community. And it doesn't mean that you have to be face to face in person. I think just having a sense of belonging. And so that's a big reason I wanted to see people's faces and pull us in on video here so we can see like, hey, these are real people just like me. So
Yeah, connecting with people is very important.
Live for the Fix Blood Sugar webinar. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are delighted that you're here today. This is going to be another good webinar. I'm Leslie. If you have not been on this show before, welcome. We're excited to have you. Normally, we can't see you, but we do have a special surprise, rather an invitation, if you will. If you guys would like to come on camera with us, we would love to have you. We'll see if it works. It's always, you never know exactly if it's going to work. We do request that you're muted, but we would love to be able to see some of your faces and so that others know that you actually are real people. I think it'd be good to see you guys. And I know Dr. Saunders and Joe would love to see these people that we are chatting with as well. So if you are interested in that, I think actually the best way to do that is to raise your hand. And so if you look down at your little control panel on Zoom, like Joe just did, he raised his hand. All right, Joe, I'll allow you to be on video.
Thank
but
you.
anyway, I think that's going to be the best way for me to see who wants to hop on. So what'll happen is I'll invite you as a panelist. And then if you want to throw a hat on or something, you can go do that. And maybe make sure you have your clothes on or I'll have to turn your video off. So I'll be watching for that. But, or any of you guys on the Barton team that want to hop on video, we'd love to see you as well. So we're going to have a really good webinar today. Those of you who are new, we do this every week, same time, talking about type 2. And Dr. Saunders, why? Why is it important for us to talk about type 2?
Because number one is I'm learning things every day. And as I learn things, I go, oh, I want to share that. And sometimes it's really basic stuff, things that I didn't know before. So we'll give examples of that today as we're talking about it. But the repetition of, oh, that's what's going on. Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, yeah, that. And I'll use different examples and different ways of looking at this problem of type 2 and why we've chosen this particular way of doing it, of reversing it. So it's really useful to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until you go, oh, and then you get it. And that's why.
Yes. And we're just finding that more and more people are messaging us and saying, I just found out I have pre-diabetes. And this is becoming a common email or comment that comes in. And so we're going to tackle this stuff. We're going to talk through this. We're going to learn what we should do to prevent this or reverse this. All right, guys, we've got a few of you are hopping on. I'm going to ask you to start your videos. Maybe check your camera, see where it's pointing. Let's see here.
David's got a nice pair of blue jeans on today.
Yeah, we can see blue jeans. Look at that. There we go. We can see people.
Emil, all right. And
Awesome.
Javier, we got a couple.
Guys.
All right.
Hey, you guys have some great setups. It's like you were prepared to go on camera.
Yeah.
You guys. Hey, this is great. All right. I think I got some more people that want to join here. So give me a second. If you guys are just hopping on, we are if any of you want to join us on camera, we'd love to see you because we don't get to see you a lot of the time. So if you are wanting to do that, go ahead and raise your hand. You can do that if you're on Zoom, if you're on the live video on Zoom, raise your hand and I should be able to add you as a panelist. Actually, it's promote to panelist, and then you'll be able to share your video. This is so cool. Okay, they just keep coming. Make sure you're fully dressed. I'll just say that. All right. And you don't have to talk if you don't want to, but we just want to see your faces. So many of you. Oh, this is so cool. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to kind of get started as we go. If you have questions, feel free to post those in the Q&A. That's kind of the best place for us to answer all of those. This is fun. Okay. So One other thing that I want to mention as we talk about type 2s, we give you some recommendations, talk about Art Nutrition in our company. I just want to let you know that Dr. Saunders is not your doctor. And so as we talk about these things, you're considering implementing maybe something new or different, chat with your medical provider before you do any of those things, okay? Quick disclaimer that we just always have to give. And another reminder, we do record all of these, so you will be able to rewatch this if you aren't able to catch all of it, or maybe you just got so much good information you want to be able to go back and see it. Okay.
Or you just want to see yourself on there again.
Yeah, maybe some of you are like, hey, I looked good in that video. I want to go back and see myself. I get it. You can do that. All right, I'm going to keep adding some more of you. Let's do this while we're chatting, while I'm adding more of you. Dr. Saunders, will you kind of give us an overview of what type 2 diabetes is?
Okay, so type 2 diabetes is toxicity. And that's the simplest way to look at it. It's just being toxic. So a lot of people consider it a disease, but it's a disease kind of like if you had too much lead in your body, you would have a disease. And what does lead do? Well, it affects everything in your body. It causes arthritis. I actually had somebody come into my office who had Alzheimer's disease. And like for 4 years, he had Alzheimer's disease. And then he got arthritis. And so because of the arthritis, his acupuncturist was a friend of mine, said, hey, you need to go see Dr. Saunders. So they came into my office for the arthritis, the swelling. He couldn't walk hardly. And so I did some tests and found out that his lead was off the charts. He was so toxic on lead. It was 50 times the upper limit of normal. It was like he should be dead kind of thing. That's what the lab said. The lab called me and said, I have a panic value. Okay, another one of those. I get them every once in a while. So we did a bunch of chelation treatments and got the lead out of his body. And as the lead came out of his body, guess what? His Alzheimer's disease went away completely. So his arthritis went away and his Alzheimer's went away. And he was perfectly normal after that. It's been over 7 years and he's still normal. I talked to his daughter a few weeks ago and he's doing just fine. So when you have toxicity, it's not just one area of the body. It's not just one thing. It's going to affect your whole body. And so now we're talking about toxicity of sugar, of glucose, but it's not glucose. Actually, this is what I was going to tell you about that I learned. This is new. So I read a book called Nature Wants Us to Be Fat. I read all kinds of weird books, but anytime someone recommends a book to me, I read it. So in this book, the author, who is a medical doctor and who does research, so he's a researcher, and what he found was that it's not the glucose, it's actually the fructose. Fructose is a fruit sugar, but it's not really a sugar. It is used in the body more like a fat. It's used by the liver and kind of made into fat. So people get fatty liver. Where do they get fatty liver from? Fructose. What else does fructose do? Well, he calls it a switch. It turns on the switch that is when, for example, when there's a famine and there's not enough food around. That switch keeps you alive because it causes you to hold on to all your fat and have less energy, use less energy, so you don't make as much ATP. And whenever you eat sugar, it's made into fat, so your liver gets fatty. He said, this is normal in nature. This happens to everyone. Type 2 diabetes is not a weird disease. It's actually a very normal metabolic process. So, for example, he uses the example of a hummingbird. Hummingbirds, what are they doing? They're eating sugar all day long, mostly fructose or sucrose, which is half glucose and half fructose. And they're eating this sugar all day long. They're just sucking sugar, 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 sugar. And what happens is they get fatty liver, they get diabetes, insulin resistance, and they get fat. And then overnight, they have such a fast metabolism. I don't even know you know, but the hummingbird heart is like really tiny. And this little tiny heart is going like 300 times a second. And they have a really super fast metabolism. These birds, they can hover, right? Even while they're sleeping, they have a fast metabolism. They use up all the fat in their liver. They use up all the fat in their body. And then they have to go out, fly around, and find some more sugar the next day. And that's how they live their lives, getting fatty liver and diabetes every night, and then using it all up and going out and trying to find more sugar during the day to get more diabetes, right? That's type 2. It's perfectly normal. A hibernating bear, he says, oh, it's not just these little animals like rats and hummingbirds. A bear will eat meat, but before they hibernate, they'll find fruit and they will engorge themselves on fruit. 400,000 berries a day, I think he said. they are like eating all this fruit. Guess that's got fructose in it. What does the fructose do? It causes the body to slow down the metabolism. So if you feel fatigued, why do you feel fatigued? Well, it could be that you're toxic on this fructose, or toxicity, yes, in a sense. And that's what the bear does. So then the bear eats all this and starts gaining weight like crazy. And they get fatty liver and they get diabetes, insulin resistance, and they get all this fat. And then what do? They go and sleep for a couple of months and they use it all up. And that's what the hummingbird does, right? So all you need to do is go sleep for a couple of months and you'll wake up and you won't have diabetes anymore. No, just kidding. What I'm saying is this is a normal process. It's okay, except that you have to do what the hummingbird does and the bear. You have to hibernate. And so we've developed this program called the Diabetes Solution Kit. And the purpose of it is for you to get off the fructose. Okay, we're saying glucose, sugar, all the sugars, because actually in the book, they explain that even glucose, the body, if you're used to having fructose, the body will make it into fructose. And so you will make your own fructose if you don't have it. So you got to get off all the sugars. And so that ketogenic diet is a good idea. So that's what we've done. We've set up this ketogenic diet. And that means you're not eating enough sugar for your body to live on. And so it's forcing your body to burn fat. And your insulin drops down and your fat use goes up. So all the fat in your liver gets used. Your fatty liver gets normal again, back to a normal liver. And then you use up the fat in your body. And then your insulin resistance goes down. Your insulin sensitivity goes up. And you no longer have type 2. And then you can go back and eat a whole bunch of sugar and get it all back again. Just kidding. You could, and people do. And we've had even people in this program say, oh yeah, I was in phase 1, I went to phase 2, did great. And then phase 3, I started getting it back again. So I had to go back to phase 1. You know what? That's perfectly normal. That's the way nature works. That's the way hummingbirds work. That's the way bears work. That's the way the body is made to function. So don't worry about that. Just go back to phase 1 and it's okay. Isn't that awesome?
Great. What is the name of the book again that you read? I know someone's going to ask, so.
It's called Nature Wants Us to Be Fat.
All right. We shouldn't forget that, but we may. All right. Look at you guys. I'm going to quick show everyone on here. Let me change the view here. Look at all of your pretty faces that have come on. Oh, we even have a few people from the team, it looks like. This is great.
Tyler Snacks. Who's that guy?
Look at this. This is awesome. Okay, so if you missed the message and you have no idea what's happening, if you guys would like to be on camera with us, we don't usually do this. Just raise your hand if you're on Zoom. The only way you'll be able to do this is if you're watching on Zoom. But click that raise hand button and I will add you. Okay, now we're getting some more. I see you. Okay, so we're going to promote you guys to panelists. I just ask that you keep yourself muted and make sure you are fully dressed. That would be the other thing I want to make sure is happening. We don't need that kind of a show. All right. I love this. This is a really good discussion. And actually I was gone the week you were talking about hummingbirds, I think probably a couple of weeks ago. And I actually just uploaded that video to YouTube the other day. So if you have not seen our YouTube channel, be sure to go there. You know what? You can find it at bartonwebinar.com. There's a link to our YouTube channel where you will be able to see all of our past webinars. And that one, it's just very good. You guys should check all of them out. But I think we have 200 and say 30 webinars where we are focused on type 2. So those of you on right now, are any of you new that are on camera right now? I know some of your names. Oh, we do have a new person. Awesome. That's great. How many of you have gone to the YouTube channel and watched some past webinars? You can shake your head if I can see you. Shake your head if you've done that, or raise your hand. Perfect. Great. Those of you maybe who are on Facebook or maybe aren't on camera, feel free to comment in the chat as well. We're going to dig into some of your questions. All right, let me add some more of you here to the camera. We're just going to have fun with this because I love seeing you guys. And some of you have been on these webinars for a while, and I'll finally be able to put a face to your name, which will be really fun. You guys already know what we look like. So here we go. Oops, I think I just tried to add someone who didn't want to be added. Sorry about that. Promote and promote. Oh, we even got Eric Heyer on here. Look at this. So Eric, you should chat. Can you tell us what you do for the Barton team? Are you prepared for that? If you don't want to, it's okay. I'm gonna unmute you. This is one of our techie guys. I tell you what, you can tell because he has a whole bunch of screens, some really big headphones. All right, if he's able to, he can tell us what he does. But
hi, everybody.
There we go. What do you do for the team?
Build web pages and manage a lot of our inventory, or not inventory, but UltraCart stuff, which is like a e-commerce platform.
He does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm probably he's gonna be really upset with me that I just made it. That's all right. We're all friends.
Isn't my strong suit talking in front of people, so.
And he's working in his giftings, and I'm best not doing that. I'm best over here. So we're all working in the areas that
most of my time is talking to kids 12 and under, so 5 of them.
Yep, he has 5 kids at home, and he's in North Dakota. So
nope, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota.
Detroit Lakes, yes. Okay, sorry, Minnesota.
Close to North Dakota.
Yes. All right, thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Good to see you on here. All right, you guys are getting to learn all sorts of things. Okay, look at all of you guys coming on. Hello, I see Karen. David's over there. Julie, I finally get to see what you look like. Yay, I love it. Julie, you're on a lot of our webinars. So good to see you. Awesome. We have Pamela. I think Pamela said she was here for the first time. Beverly, hello. You guys are just beautiful people. I love seeing all of you. Javier is on. Okay, is it Emil? Am I pronouncing that right? Yes? Okay, cool. And I know Joe and Dr. Saunders. Oh, we got some more people hopping on here too. William is on. We've got Robin and Ann. If you want to turn your camera on, you can. You don't have to. David is here. I love it. This is so good.
This is something that I've wanted to see for a long time. And I think, Dr. Saunders has talked about like the value or the importance of reducing stress and like community is a big part of that. Like if you look at, I think they're called the blue zones in, all over the world, people that live the longest have the most community. And it doesn't mean that you have to be face to face in person. I think just having a sense of belonging. And so that's a big reason I wanted to see people's faces and pull us in on video here so we can see like, hey, these are real people just like me. So Dr. Saunders, would you agree? I was putting words in your mouth there.
Yeah. Connecting with people is very important.
Yes.
Joe, I'm not too far from Coon Rapids, where you talked about. Is it the Catholic Church and school there? What is that called?
I went to Epiphany, Epiphany Catholic School for like 4 years of middle school and Coon Rapids Junior High. So, well, you're right in my old stomping grounds.
Wow.
It's what's it, 20 degrees here. I don't know if you guys hit that high. It was like 68 here a couple days ago, and now it's down in the cold again. But I think the whole country is just on a weird weather pattern this winter. So
all right. Okay, guys, we're gonna dig into some of these questions. I'm gonna keep your guys' faces here for a little bit. I may switch it to Dr. Saunders just his view, but I want to get to some of these. So if you guys have questions, feel free to post those in the Q&A. Again, if you've been here, you know that that's the best place for us to manage the questions. So we're going to try to get through as many as possible. The first one is from Terry and Eve. All right, what does Dr. Saunders think of the mineral zeolite to detox heavy metals and volatile organic compounds from our system, which can result in healthier environment throughout the body as a cleaner and healthier body, along with synochroma? And in fact, Tyler, is zeolite what you have? No, your drink?
Oh, no.
No. Okay, never mind.
Okay, so a zeolite is a bentonite clay compound, and this clay is it works kind of like the way the charcoal works, and that is it holds on to volatile organic compounds. It holds on to certain metals. And so as far as a detox, it is somewhat of a detox. It's not absorbed into the body, and it doesn't get into the blood and detox the blood. It goes through the intestinal system. So whatever is in the intestinal system, it can hold on to and get rid of. We used to use charcoal primarily, like in the emergency department, when people would overdose on medications. We would commonly just take a whole bottle, grams of charcoal, and put it down through a tube in the stomach and just to detox. So it's kind of a good acute detox. What it's not good for is people who have like the patient that I had, the chronic lead toxicity. He was a welder, and as he's welding, and he was using a cutting torch most of the time, and so he's cutting, and so he's breathing in these metals in a vapor form, and it's going through his lungs and getting into his blood, and then it got into his brain. And once it's like embedded in the tissue, and he'd been getting tiny amounts over a long period of time, 30 years. So just so that you know, when I tested him, the blood levels were perfectly normal. He had a little bit, but not enough to really worry about. It was the tissue levels that were the problem. So we did what's called a chelated specimen, and that's the one that was off the charts. It was like amazingly high, like I'd never seen anyone that high. Still haven't seen anyone that high in lead. That kind of tissue lead is not going to be taken out by zeolite. So it has a purpose for an acute toxicity problem, but the chronic kinds of things, it's not going to help.
Okay. Tom says, what do you think about Dr. Oz CBD gummies for reversing diabetes? Okay.
This is really important as far as what this is for and what it does. Now, we've talked about this in some of our webinars about how some people have stress-induced diabetes, right? And I told the story about the one woman who was only stress-induced, that she had uncontrollable diabetes until her stress was relieved. And then she did not have diabetes after that. It was like a day and night thing, like she only had diabetes because of stress. So when people they don't sleep at night, not sleeping is stressful for your body, and that adds stress. And so people can have diabetes from these stressors. And so something like CBD gummies, if you sleep at night because of it, then you have less stress, and then you're less likely to have diabetes. But if you have type 2 because of toxicity, CBD gummies aren't going to be useful for you. You have to detox anyway. So that's not a solution to your problem.
All right, let's talk a little bit too about, Dr. Saunders had mentioned the diabetes solution kit, and that is primarily what we talk about on these webinars, but you can find that at bartonwebinar.com. It is a book. You can get it in a downloadable ebook format, so you could have it, within minutes, or you can get the hard copy of it shipped to you. And in that, we talk about the different phases of reversing your type 2. Primarily, phase 1 is for the low carb diet that Dr. Saunders has mentioned many times. But you'll hear us talking about the phases and the detox program. And that's what we're talking about, is that book. And I'll pull that site up so that you guys can see that here in just a minute. We did have another question that came through. Someone was asking, they're eating a lot of protein. Now, will too much protein hurt me? Like, will it all turn into sugar if it's too much for my body? Or what happens when I eat too much protein?
Okay, protein is also an important, it's important for growth because protein is cut up into amino acids. And amino acids also require insulin to get into the cell, into some cells. And because of that, protein will induce insulin. So you have to be kind of careful sometimes. And I've had one case, well, I've had several cases, but one really significant case of a man and his wife, both of whom had type 2, and so I put them on the diabetes solution kit and diet, and she was doing really well. She's losing weight. She's feeling better. She has more energy, and he was gaining weight and getting worse. He's like, "What the heck? We're eating the same things. There's no way that this could be that." And it's because he was sensitive to protein. So I had to put him on a low protein diet because whenever he would eat protein, it would induce his insulin. Now, in that book, Nature Wants Us to Be Fat, I found out why that is. It's not just the protein, and it's not protein that induces the insulin. There's the umami taste. It comes from glutamate, and there is a whole lot of glutamate in most proteins, and that is an amino acid that induces that fructose metabolism that causes the body to get insulin resistant. So insulin resistance also comes from protein. So too much protein, I don't know. That's something that you have to weigh that depending on you. So if you find that you're doing the program and it's not working for you, that's one thing to look at, is to look at, gosh, am I eating a lot of protein? Am I getting a lot of that umami taste, which is we talk about MSG as if it's a toxin, and it's an excitotoxin in the brain, but it's found in all protein, but mostly in like fish and beef, and it's less so in chicken. There's a lot of it in seafood and beef. Anyway, so that umami taste, some people really like that, and I've actually had one recently, a man who had insulin resistance, and he says, "Wait a minute, I don't eat sugar. I don't eat any sugar. Yeah, I have like some rice once in a while, but I'm not like sugar." He says, "I go to Chinese restaurants. I really like that umami taste." And I'm like, "Oh, there's your problem right there." And so it was, and sometimes that's an issue. So it might be protein, and it might be just the way the protein is flavored or cooked.
Very interesting. Okay, that's good. Bringing us back on camera here so we can see all of you. If you guys want to add yourself or turn your camera on, feel free to do so. If you are a panelist, if you want to hit that raise hand button, then I can add you as a panelist and you can turn your camera on for those of you who are on Zoom. Okay, Fred says, wanted to ask, I have been able to control my diabetes through diet and lifestyle. A1C from 11.3 to 6.4 without medication. My cholesterol level, total of 230, is a different story. Just learned that I have one E4 gene, which might explain my cholesterol levels. My doctor wants me to go on a statin. What is your opinion?
Okay, remember, I'm not your doctor, so I can say anything I want, but so work with your doctor to see what you do. But I want to let you know that in our healthy heart webinar, we talk about the cholesterol myth. And it's a pervasive myth because a lot of people are making money on it. But let me show you what the latest, biggest, most definitive study ever done on cholesterol says. And I'm gonna share my screen. All right, can everybody see that? Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, you can see it. Okay. So this side here is the death rate. This is mortality, right? 1 is an average mortality, 2 is twice the average mortality. And this is the cholesterol down here. And so if you can see what the perfect cholesterol level is, right about there, 230. That is the perfect cholesterol level. And that's true for every age group, male, female. It does not matter your race or color or anything. This was done in Korea, I believe. Yeah. I think it was done in Korea. So 12 million adults. And this study is the same as the one in the United States on only men, where you see this blue curve here is the all-cause mortality. So if you're worried about a cholesterol of 230, don't be.
Love that. And we have a lot of webinars talking about this. It's hard to wrap your mind around that because it just seems so different than what we're told. But I love your teaching on all of this. Okay, I had something that came in from Olivia. Olivia had a blood test this morning. I see my doctor next Wednesday. I keep forgetting to ask about this. It appears I have thin blood. My technician always asks me if I'm on blood thinners. No, I'm not. I remember my mother had the same issue. We bruise easily. I Googled this. Apparently, I have low platelet count in my blood. Please advise how to improve this situation.
Okay, so first you would need to know why you have a low platelet count. And is that related to anything else? In other words, if it's a bone marrow problem, do you also have low white blood cells, low red blood cells? And you can have low platelets, get easy bruising. And you know what? In a sense, that's a bad thing, but in another sense, it's a good thing. And that is that you're not going to form clots in your arteries, and you're not going to get arterial disease. You're not going to get heart disease. You're not going to get strokes and carotid artery disease. So in that sense, you could say that may be a good thing, as long as you're not having other kinds of like bleeding problems. And so, I don't know, bloody noses, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's the coagulation system, clotting system of the body is always walking a fine line between too much and too little. Too much and you get all this heart disease and vascular disease and strokes, and too little and you bleed out and you get bruises and bloody noses and all kinds of bleeding problems. And you can even get bleeding strokes too, hemorrhagic strokes. So it's not a simple thing like, I have low platelets. Well, if you find out why, and you find out, for example, that you have an autoimmune disease and you have antibodies that are attacking your platelets, then you can deal with that. That is something you can deal with, because that's a reversible problem. You can go on the autoimmune. I put people on autoimmune protocols to reverse all kinds of autoimmune problems, including even like diabetes, autoimmune diabetes. So it's possible, but you need to know why. You can't just like take a pill and get your platelets up.
All right. Debbie says, my friend cannot get her A1C down, even though she has been eating no carbs and eating just root vegetables, and has lost weight, 35 pounds. Her A1C came back at 9.6 and she wants to cry. She is stuck and we cannot figure out how to move her A1C.
Okay, so the A1C is the average blood sugar over approximately 3 months. So if the test was done too soon and you've done all this stuff in 1 week, and then you do the test and then you find it's still about the same, then it's like, well, you haven't waited long enough. You got to wait 3 months. So maybe that's an issue. Or sometimes you may need the other test I commonly explain that you have to look at your insulin, C-peptide, and hemoglobin A1C, and then the glucose. And those 4 tests give you an idea of what's going on in the body. You can also do another one called fructosamine. Fructosamine gives you a lesser of an average, but it still tells you the idea of how much of this fructose you're making in your body and getting sugar. And then the other part we just talked about is like maybe protein. Maybe the protein is being made into glutamine. The amino acid glutamine from protein can be made into sugar. And sometimes the liver's making extra sugar. And that happens when you have, when your insulin isn't right and you have high glucagon, for example. So some testing would be in order to find out why. And another thing you might consider is that if you have insulin resistance, so from stress, remember we had that guy that was chewing gum, sugar-free gum, and he said he could not get his hemoglobin A1C down until he got rid of the sugar-free gum. People drinking fluids, any kind of sweetened fluids, is going to raise the insulin level and make you more insulin resistant. Artificial sweeteners, and stress, and sometimes like protein. So those are all the things I can think of offhand that might be helpful. But I would start off with testing. Just find out what your insulin level is. If your insulin is 100, then it's like, oh my gosh, you got to get the insulin down. You're never going to get a hemoglobin A1C normal. If your insulin's 2, then it's like, oh my gosh, you need some insulin. You don't have enough. That's why your hemoglobin A1C is high. So the difference would tell you what to do mostly.
Okay. Joe, do you know when berberine will be back in stock?
I believe March 6th, but let me double check on.
Okay, we did have a question about that. And then let's see, something else that I was going to ask. Shoot. Oh, someone had asked if our products were GMO free.
GMO certified. GMO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do we say that? Are they GMO free certified that way? I don't think so. Any thoughts, Joe?
Let me do a little research on that, but berberine should be March 4th through the 6th, somewhere in there. It'll be back in action.
Okay. Look at all of you. I have you guys on gallery view so I can see you all again. This is so great. I love it. Roy's joined us. Wanda has joined us. Hello, you guys. Love it. This is fun. It's great to see all of you on here. Okay, here we go. Rosaria says, what can I do not to be insulin resistant?
Okay, do the diabetes reversal program. So all you need to do is start with phase 1 and do the whole program. Start from the beginning. Do page 1, fill out all of the questionnaires that we have there about stress, about what your current diet is, about we ask questions, what's your goals, and all of that. And just do the program, start from the beginning, and then go into phase 1 and change your diet and decrease your intake of sugars to 20 grams or less. And then at that point, it may take a few days to a few weeks to sometimes a few months for your blood glucose to come down to the normal range between 70 and 90, or if you're in Canada, between 4 and 5. That will give you a good idea of what to do. Just use the book, because you can make the book yours by individualizing your program, because your food's going to be different than somebody else's food. For example, just the food part. Your goals are different. Everything is different. And so following the book, you can go, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And it just tells you how.
Okay. This is from Anonymous. They said I had a very unpleasant encounter with flu A this past week and made the observation that blood sugar goes up when your body is fighting illness. Dr. Saunders, please comment.
Yeah, okay. So any kind of stress, what I just talked about, that woman who was fighting with her daughter and her blood sugar went up. And she had diabetes just because she was fighting. And when she didn't fight, she didn't have diabetes. Yeah, any kind of stress. So illness will make your blood sugar go up. If you have surgery or something, your blood sugar is going to go up. Yeah, any kind of stress will release cortisol, make you insulin resistant, and makes the blood sugar go up. What's really interesting is that you get transient increase in sugar if you have one of those CGMs, continuous glucose monitors. You'll see like an exercise, for example, when you're stressing your body, your blood sugar goes up. But then your muscles don't need insulin, and they can bring sugar into the muscles without insulin, so that so it'll come back down. But still, any kind of stress, yeah, illness.
All right, Steve has joined us as well. Hello, Steve W. Glad to see you on here as well. And Roy says, I'm just an old cowboy from Colorado, but now I just watch the real cowboys. It's an attitude, not just a clothing style. So yeah, I'm cowboy up. I love it. So good. This is so fun to see you guys. I got
an answer for you on the GMO. So no, we don't have certified non-GMO products, but I was just looking and doing a little research, and apparently a lot of products that have vitamin A, vitamin B2, vitamin B12, vitamin C, and vitamin D are genetically modified. Do you know about that, Dr. Saunders?
No, I don't. I don't know why they would genetically modify with the products that have that specifically.
Interesting. So.
Robin had said, is that 20 grams per meal per day? Maybe on phase 3, but phase
that's 20 grams in your whole day. Yeah, that's one slice of bread. That's like one apple. That's it. It's all you get all day long. Yeah, it's a very little bit of sugar. For a good reason. Remember the hummingbird? Is overnight. The metabolism is so fast, he uses up all his fatty liver and all the fat. And then he has to go out and suck some more sugar and make more fat. That's what he does. So essentially what we're doing is we're getting rid of the sugar so that you can use fat. That's really what it's about.
William, I think you weren't able to type a question. Do you want me to unmute and you can ask Dr. Saunders? No? Okay. I'm not sure why it's not working. It's strange. Feel free to post it in the chat. I'll try to get to what I can. If you're able to post it in the chat, that works too. Okay, Helena says, lately I've been practicing 5 days on and 2 days off with berberine. However, by the second day off from berberine, my blood sugar readings rise into the diabetic range, sometimes very high. It takes 3 days back on berberine to get more consistent readings in the 5 to 5.5 range for both early morning and after meals. Should I continue this practice of 5 days on and 5 days off?
Yes. Okay. That is so good. So you're 5 days on. During your 5 days on, you're getting the benefits of turning your body to more fat burning, and that's okay. Essentially, the problem is you're on the wrong program. Assuming that the purpose for the berberine is to normalize or control your blood sugar. You want your blood sugar between 4 and 5, so less than 5. That's where you want your blood sugar to be. So in order to do that, you still do the 5 days on, 5 days off with or 2 days off with the berberine, but you go on the phase 1 of the program. Get the book, read the book, go through the book, do phase 1 of the program to get your blood glucose down into the 4 range. That's where you want to be.
All right. Tim says, if I do an extended fast for like 10 days, would it expedite the results in the solution kit?
As a rule, yes. Extended fast, and extended fast is anything over 3 days. So an extended fast, as you're fasting, you no longer make insulin, you're burning fat, and so you're using primarily fat for energy. Your body's making glucose, and you're doing something called autophagy. Auto means self, phagy means eating. So you're using your own stored stuff, which means protein, fat, even carbs, called glycogen. And so all of that, that using up all of the excess stuff in your body really helps this program a lot. So yeah, the answer to your question is, that's the long answer to the yes question.
All right. Sandy says, what is the app, the free app to count carbs? Is it MyFitnessPal? That is a good app to do that. You can keep track of your carbs there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let me see. Already read that one. Oh, Steve. Let's see. Steve is on camera here today. I think, right? At least he was. Let me double check. There he is. Yes. I've taken metformin, glipizide, Jardiance, Ozempic, Trulicity, Manjaro, and had bad side effects with the last 4. The first 2 quit working. Now I started insulin 2 weeks ago and have not felt any worse than before. And I've not felt any worse before. Joints hurt, groin pain, rapid heartbeat. What's next?
Oh my gosh. Steve, you're the person we wrote the book for. This is it. This is your program. This is exactly all of those people. And these are the people coming into my office. And they come to me because of that. Because I've been on, 5 different medications and I had bad reaction to all of them. And now I'm on insulin. I'm having a terrible reaction. But my doctor says I can't get off insulin. I'm just miserable. What do I do? And so here's the answer. Start the program. You know what? You're going to be amazed at how your blood sugar comes down to normal, about how all of those pains go away, because the excess insulin is most of the problem. And now you're adding in more insulin, causing more problems, which means a lack of energy in the body. So that switch, the metabolic switch, that turns from primarily fat burning metabolism to primarily glucose or sugar burning metabolism, that was made by the fructose they were talking about earlier, also diminishes your ATP. You have less energy, and so everything aches when you try and use it. It's not functioning normally. So to get it back to functioning normally, start the program. So get the book, start the program, and you're going to be amazed.
All right, I'm going to quick show you guys this. This is bartonwebinar.com. This is your hub, so make sure you visit this page. But you can see that familiar face right there. Scroll down, you'll find links. Oh, here's the hummingbird video. But this will take you to our YouTube channel. Go all the way down and you will see the Diabetes Solution Kit. So it's that book on that bottom right. If you're interested in checking that out, this is what he's talking about when he's talking about the program. So the digital version is under $20. So very affordable. Okay, now I'll stop. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can get through a few more questions here. Let's see. How often should you get a C-peptide test? And any of the other tests that you suggested? Once a year, or does it depend?
It depends. So, for example, if you're just starting the program, I usually wait about 3 months, because at 3 months, remember the hemoglobin A1C comes from the hemoglobin, and the hemoglobin lasts in your blood about 3 months and is recycled. So the average is about 3 months. So that your hemoglobin A1C is going to be significantly different if in the last 3 months, and when you measure it, you're measuring the previous 3 months blood glucose, and so you wait 3 months, and then you're measuring the next 3 months glucose. So I usually wait about 3 months, and I look at the hemoglobin A1C and the C-peptide and insulin, just to see if the insulin resistance has improved, and so that's usually useful. But then if someone's in like phase 2 and they're stable and they have a CGM and their blood sugar is stable, then there may not be a reason to do C-peptide more than once a year. So it depends.
All right. Someone listened to a podcast on nitric oxide. He stated we cannot live without nitric oxide. Nervala is supposed to have nitric oxide, but I don't see it on the bottle. Any thoughts?
Okay, so nitric oxide is a gas, and you can't take nitric oxide. The nitric oxide is dissolved in the water in your blood, and so and so the way it works is to dilate blood vessels, and you cannot live without nitric oxide. That is absolutely true. So how do you get nitric oxide? Well, your body makes it from arginine, citrulline. Those are amino acids that are used. The nitrogen is taken off of the amino acid to make the nitric oxide. So you don't take nitric oxide. The Nervala does not have nitric oxide in it. What it does is it repairs the lining. The inside of the blood vessels is called endothelium. And that endothelial lining of the blood vessels is where the nitric oxide is made that dilates the blood vessels or shrinks it and has the effect of decreasing inflammation and improving function. So part of it is that it makes the glycocalyx. So what Nervala does is repair that so that it can make nitric oxide. And because nitric oxide is all made locally, you can't take it.
I see Terry and Eve have joined us. How are you guys? Fun to see you. Look at all you guys on camera. I love it. Yay. Some of you guys have been around on these webinars for a really long time. Some of you I've seen before, but some of you, this is the first time. So this is great. I'm going to take a screenshot so I can remember your faces. Then when we talk on the next webinar, I'll remember who I'm talking to. Okay. David said I think David might be on camera too, or was. Not on camera, but he's on as a panelist. I was basically following phase 1 and it helped quite a bit, but blood sugar was still around 140 in the morning. When I added the intermittent fasting after a couple of weeks, my blood sugar is becoming completely normal.
Wow. Good work. See that sometimes it does require some fasting, especially, well, it doesn't have to be long-term fasting. Intermittent fasting means you have a window of eating, usually 5 to 8 hours. You eat 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, skip dinner, and that sometimes makes all the difference.
All right. What is the best detox for lead and arsenic? This is from Flores.
Detox from lead and arsenic. Okay. Both lead and arsenic are you can get a chelating agent called EDTA, ethylene diamine tetracetic acid. And there's like oral forms, but they don't work. It really needs to be IV. So if you've been tested and you have like toxicity, like your lead's over 10, then and arsenic, and if you've tested positive, then you should be able to get some EDTA IV treatments to get that out, because there's no other good way to get it out. Your body just doesn't have a mechanism for getting lead out of the body. And EDTA is an amino acid that likes lead and it holds on to it. And then your body doesn't want that amino acid. So it just, you pee it out essentially.
All right. Let's change my view one more time. Something fun that you guys will enjoy. There we go. Now we're just playing. Hold on. That's not the one I wanted. This is the one. There we go. Okay. Let me see here. Mariette says, I'm 70, almost 71, started the Barton program in January of 2024, lost 20 pounds, fasting blood sugar down to 78. In February, I went back to 100 plus, but still losing weight. Feeling really weak and neuropathy in hands are like uncontrollable. Still no sugar ingested. Finally back to fasting blood sugar of 95 this morning.
Wow, good. Okay, so weakness and fatigue. That's one of the things that I learned recently that is kind of important to think about, and that is one of the things that causes insulin resistance is a sugar called fructose. And fructose, but fructose is not a sugar that you can use in your body. It's not like glucose. Glucose is an energy source. Fructose is a secondary energy source, and it's burned in an unusual way, kind of like fat. but it's also a trigger, a switch that can turn on the metabolism that decreases your ATP. And what that means is you have less energy. So you get fatigued easily. So you get up and you go like, oh, I'm good. And you work and then you go like, oh, I'm so pooped out. I just completely lost all my energy. Why is that? Well, that could be this metabolic switch, the insulin resistance part and all of that. In order to get outside of that, you have to do what the hummingbird does and what the bear does. And that is not eat sugar for a while. So that's part of our program is a ketogenic diet. That's a way to do it. But people have talked several times today about fasting too. And fasting is a great way to get your energy back. And fasting with exercise, by the way, because if you don't exercise while you're fasting, then you use your protein for energy. And you don't want to do that. You want to use fat for energy. So exercise with fasting is a great way to do it.
Okay, one more question here from Flores. If insulin is the problem, so shall we reset the hypothalamus and thyroid by homeopathy?
Reset the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is in the brain, and the thyroid. No, the thyroid is a secondary problem. The hypothalamus is actually one of the issues here. And that is because in the hypothalamus, you get resistant to leptin because of this metabolic switch that I was talking about with the fructose. So but to reset that, you still have to do the same thing. You still have to fast. You still have to stop eating sugar for a while, any kind of glucose or any kind of sugar, in order to reset your hypothalamus. So the question, can homeopathy do that? I don't know. I just don't have enough information on the homeopathic remedies. I've used some of them in the past, but I just don't have enough information to be able to tell you if that's going to work.
Okay. All right. That is it for today. Dr. Saunders, thank you so much. This was great. Very fun.
Thanks,
Very
Dr. Saunders.
Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining. It was so fun to see all of you. I hope you found this
Great.
fun. Get to see all these real people. Some of these names you probably recognize as well from all the webinars. So maybe we'll try again next week. Be prepared.
All right.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
If you want to join our Healthy Heart webinar, that's tomorrow as well. And that will be at 12 noon Central Time. So we may do the same thing. So just make sure you're fully dressed. Okay. We'll see you guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.